What will the defending national champions do in the 2025 season? What's going on, guys? It is Dylan, or the Pissed Off Ohioan, and today I will be doing a Ohio State 2025 schedule preview. I will do a little bit of a rant here in the beginning, and then I will go through game by game and give you a winner and a loser for their prediction. I'm not going to be one of these YouTubers that acts like they know everything about every single team and goes through every single team that and does these kind of videos. I know people love that. I'm just not going to be one of those people that acts like they know everything about every team. Of course, some people might, but it's just not nearly as much as people would think, honestly. But I am going to do, of course, you already saw my Browns video here, but this will kind of be the same kind of format here. Let's just start off with what happened last year. So, of course, last year, Ohio State wins the national championship in the most dominant fashion, honestly, that we've seen since probably 2020 Bama. Michigan had the scare. Georgia had the scare in the national championship, and then against Ohio State. Alabama just kind of ran through everybody. Ohio State kind of put up a fight in that national championship game, but they ran away with it in the second half. So, yeah, like this was probably, I went from, in the span of the playoff, I probably went from one of my worst feelings as an Ohio State fan to the best feeling I've ever had as an Ohio State fan, of winning that national championship after that loss to Michigan in the shoe. I was actually at the Indiana game a week before, and I was on campus all weekend that weekend, and no one even thought in their minds that we would lose to Michigan, and I can't imagine being in campus for that game. I'm hoping to go to the game this year in Ann Arbor. I would love to go to that. I've been to Ohio Stadium. It's cool. But I would love to go to Michigan Stadium and just have that checked off my list. So all the profits that I'm making from here will probably end up going to that. So let's get there by the end of the year, and maybe I can get some tickets. Anyways, Ohio State, of course, wins the national championship after the loss to Michigan. Ryan Day goes from fans wanting him to be fired to you're the best coach ever, which honestly I didn't really know what I wanted to do with Ryan Day. I heard reason that you can't fire Ryan Day. As the winning percentage is concerned, he's the coach with the most with the highest winning the highest winning percentage in the history of college football and the amount of games that he's played. You can't fire Ryan Day, but Ohio State fans will understand, like, you were so angry about that game that was probably the worst Michigan team since what? I don't even know. I think probably the worst Michigan team of my lifetime, and I'm almost 20. So, like, yeah, that was probably the worst Michigan team in my lifetime, unless there's another worse one that people can let me know on, but of course, not at the end of the year, because of course they beat Ohio State and then they ended up beating Bama in the bowl game. But whatever, like that's whatever. Michigan fans can have a bowl game. We had the national championship, so whatever. Anyways, so let's look at what Ohio State lost over the last season here. Of course, Emeka Egbuka gone. The entire defensive line is gone. Jack Sawyer, JTT, and all the other guys there on the starting lineup, at least. Denzel Burke is gone. Lathan Ransom is gone. And that's just on the defensive side, except Emeka Egbuka. So you have Emeka Egbuka, the majority of the offensive line, Will Howard, Trayvon Henderson, Quinshon Judkins are all gone. And then that's just players. You got to count coaching staff. So Justin Fry, the offensive line coach, which is honestly a great thing for Ohio State that he left. Honestly, I honestly thought that he was probably the thing that was the anchor around Ohio State's neck for a while there. That offensive line The recruitment and development have just not been at the level that Ohio State needs it to be a consistent threat nationally for the college football playoff, especially when you're playing a team like Michigan, who specializes in trench play and running the ball and stopping the run and muddying up the waters of games. You can't have a bad trench play, because Michigan's going to do exactly what they've been doing the past 4 years. Is they're going to out physical you, they're going to frustrate you, and they're going to beat you. And that's exactly what they've done with, whether it's Jim Harbaugh, which, if anyone knows me, knows how I feel about Jim Harbaugh, and what they've done with Sharon Moore. And, you can argue with Connor Stallions, which I believe Connor Stallions played a major role, especially in 21 and 22, of Michigan winning those games. But of course, you don't have that excuse anymore in 23 and 24, because there's no Connor Stallions anymore. And Michigan was just the better team on that specific day. They were the better team in 2023 as a whole. In 2024, there's no argument that Michigan was the better team than Ohio State. There's absolutely none. Michigan fans control and do whatever they want, but there's no argument for that. So, yeah, you can say whatever you want. Ohio State has the national championship. Michigan has a meaningless bowl game against Alabama. Whatever. Anyways, so of course Ohio State loses offensive line coach. That's probably an upgrade. The coordinators are yet to be seen, though. Of course, you're not gonna upgrade over Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles goes to Penn State, which adds in really another layer of the rivalry game of Penn State and Ohio State. We'll get to my take on Penn State and Ohio State later. But he, of course, leaves to go to Penn State, creates probably one of the better teams in the country right now. And Penn State is going all in this year with Drew Aller and James Franklin. Drew Aller, fun fact, actually grew up and went to school like a town over from me, from where I'm living right now, which was really cool. Of course, I didn't go to school in where I live right now, but a town over from where I live, you hear Drew Aller and his name going through high school. Then he goes to Penn State, and now I see him on national TV every weekend during the football season. But so yeah, I as a person, and I hate Penn State as a team, but Drew Aller as a player, I love Drew Aller. Anyways, Penn State creating a juggernaut of sorts, having basically the formula of what Ohio State and Michigan did the last 2 years, bringing everybody back, upgrading on the coaching staff, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, you're just not going to upgrade over Jim Knowles. So they bring in Matt Patricia from, of course, his time being well known for being the Patriots coordinator with Bill Belichick, and then the Lions head coach, which all Michigan fans know did not end well if you're a Lions fan, but the Lions are doing just fine without him. Like, no one really cares about Matt Patricia anymore, but in the NFL at least. So I think this might be for Matt Patricia what the offense coordinator job last year was for Chip Kelly. This is a prove it kind of year. If Matt Patricia can prove that he can be a good defensive coordinator, then I would not be surprised if you see Matt Patricia go off to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL somewhere. I would not be surprised with that at all if this is just a one-year thing again, and this is a stepping stone to get back to the NFL. I would also not be surprised. You can honestly kind of see this going anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Patricia stays for another year or two, or if he's fired after this year if he's just a failure at the defensive coordinator job and he just gets fired at the end of the year, or maybe even in the middle of the year he's just so bad. You can kind of see every single scenario for Matt Patricia. And then, of course, over on the other side with Brian Hartline, you got a little taste of this in 2023. Hartline, of course, being promoted as the offensive coordinator in 23, but Ryan Day was really still calling plays. I don't know what that was all about. Maybe it was just a blind that Ryan Day put over all of our faces, just to kind of see, like, hey, I'm doing the CEO job, but really I'm not. Of course, he learned his lesson there and probably churned out one of the most frustrating offenses that I've seen as an Ohio State fan. with one of the better defenses I've seen since 2019 and 2023. I think there's definitely an argument that 2023 defense was better than the 2024 defense, even though they returned and had extra experience of in 2024. I still think the 2023 defense is better. Denzel Burke isn't a liability half the year. He's probably one of the better corners in the country that year. Even though Jack Sawyer and JTT aren't at their full peak yet, they're still Jack Sawyer and JTT. Like, they're still those players. They're not 3-star bums coming out of, Pennsylvania. But anyways, that's just what Ohio State has lost in the last year. Ryan Day, of course, still there. The pressure's kind of off of him right now. But there's still pressure, don't get me wrong. But the pressure's kind of off of Ryan Day at the moment. You see kind of the, Ohio State fans giving a little bit of leeway to Ryan Day because he just won that national championship. But there's still a load of pressure to win that Michigan game at the end of the year. Has not done it in 2020. I went through my entire high school life of never beating Michigan, and that sucked, honestly. From my middle school and elementary year, I lost to Michigan maybe when I was in kindergarten, and then that was it. We won all the way through that, and then I got to high school and we went 0-3, of course, my freshman year, being 2020. We didn't play that year. So 0-3 my entire high school life, and now I start my college life going 0-1 so far. I would really like to not go 0-8 in my high school and college life. That would really kind of suck. But anyways, we are right now for Ryan Day. We're just trying to feel out what this team's going to be. This is still a young team. But this is an experience. It's still an experienced team. This team knows what it feels like to reach the mountaintop and get the ring, and how you're going to have the motivation of getting another one. Of course, you have the Michigan game, but that's only one game. You got to play Texas. You got to play Illinois, which is a rivalry game that not a lot of people know about. It's not a protected rivalry or anything, but it's a rivalry game. It has a rivalry trophy. We'll get to that. Of course, the Penn State game, and then the Michigan game. So, and of course, you got Wisconsin in there, which was like a 2010s kind of rivalry there, in the Big Ten championship and all that. But yeah, you have the Texas game right there, week 1. It's going to be a Scarlet in the Shoe game. It's still at noon. Thanks, Fox. This honestly should be a night game, and it should be a Scarlet out, all Scarlet uniforms again, or like something like that. This should be a night game. Fox decides that you got to have your games at noon, but honestly, the prime, especially the SEC versus Big Ten games, where it's one of the best teams in the Big Ten against one of the best teams in the SEC, because next year this is going to be a night game in Texas. This is 1000% going to be a night game in Texas, and Ohio State has to come in, and it's like it's like Charlie Brown, where they all have the candy. I got a night game, and then Ohio State, I got a noon game. So like it's ridiculous that this is being played at noon. Even let's go back to the Michigan game again, the Michigan-Texas game. Like that should have been played at night. That Michigan versus Texas in that atmosphere at night. I think Michigan probably still loses that game, but maybe they have a breakout run or two that keeps the game a bit closer, instead of Texas just kind of playing business as usual. But that just didn't happen. So Fox yet again just not taking, just not doing what's necessary. Like, even right now, imagine what these Ohio State Penn State games would be like if they were being played at night. Like, we would have multiple, like, Penn State probably wins in Happy Valley at least one of the last 2 years that it's been played there, in 21 or in 24. They probably win one of those games. Like, imagine if It's the 2016 through 2018 games. 2016, 2017, 2018 Ohio State Penn State games. Those are the three best games that anyone has really ever seen. 16 was the blocked field goal where Penn State kind of got away with a flukish win there. They still won the game. James Franklin's only top 5 win, by the way. Then you got the 2017 game with the comeback in Columbus with Saquon Barkley returning it for a touchdown on the first play, and Ohio State comes back and wins it in the fourth. And then you got 2018 where Penn State yet again jumps out to the early lead, and Ohio State comes back in the second half. Imagine if all those games are played at night. You probably get the same thing. Ohio State might lose a game or two on the road, or maybe even at home. I don't care. You probably get better games than we did. The 2021 game and 2023 games are still good, but the 2024 games. No, sorry, 2022 and 2024. I don't know why I was saying 2021. 2022 games and then 2024 games in Happy Valley. Imagine those at night. The 2023 game was stupid. Like, that game was so boring to watch. No, did anyone really care about that game? Like, of course, we all watched it, but did anyone go back and watch that and be like, oh, this is one of the best games I've seen in a while? Like, I wish I could go back to the present and watch this game over again for the first time? No. Like, and then in 2021, Ohio State's offense was just so good, and their defense was just so bad that it kept Penn State in the game. Like, that's not really exciting. Of course, the scoop and score, and that was the first time Ohio State wore the all-scarlet uniforms. But, like, no one really remembers that game as much as they did with 2016, 2017, 2018. And then in 2019, Ohio State was just better than Penn State. That was just... that game was unfair to watch. Anyways, so if this game was being played at night, I think I'd take Ohio State. My heart still wants to take Ohio State in this game, but you can't take Ohio State right now. I can't do it. Texas is probably, it's going to be, I want to say a bit closer than the Texas-Michigan game is, but I still think Texas goes into Columbus, probably plants a flag at the O, and if Ohio State fans are not expecting that, if Texas wins and Ohio State fans aren't expecting Texas to plant a flag at the midfield logo, then you're just plain stupid. Like, clearly it gets a rise out of not only the Ohio State players, but the Ohio State fans, the Ohio State coaches. Example, look at the Ohio State-Michigan brawl that just happened last year. Like, and how many people still hate Baker Mayfield? How many Ohio State fans still hate Baker Mayfield? I have a resentment towards Baker Mayfield because he planted the flag at the Block O, and that kind of started that whole thing. I still can't watch that Ohio State. I can't even watch the Ohio State-Oklahoma game from when it was in Norman like the same ever again, because I remember the next year Baker Mayfield plants a flag at the Block O and does all that stuff. Like, what? Because we quoted a guy in the whatever. I'm getting off on the rant here again. But anyways, Texas gets the win in Columbus. They probably plant a flag at the midfield logo. It's not out of their character. They did it at Michigan. They tried to do it at Texas A&M. This is going to be a normal thing that Texas does. Whatever. Ohio State will more than likely get their chance at revenge in Texas next year. So moving on, Ohio State starts off 0-1, and then they go and they take care of business against both Grambling and Ohio. Those games aren't going to be that bad. Then you get your bye week. I know people don't like having this bye week very early. I personally love it right here in this spot. You have your bye week, and then you go on the road again, like the Oregon game last year. You go over multiple time zones. This might even be a night game on Peacock, like, depending how good Washington is and how good they start off in the year. This might be a night game that you got to go in and you got to win. I still think Ohio State gets the win. I just think a lot of people are overlooking this game right now. I know Washington right now is not the best team. They're still rebuilding from everyone leaving in 23, all their coaching staff and Michael Penix and all that kind of stuff when they're on their national championship run. But I think Ohio State still gets the win here, but I think it's a much closer game than people are expecting. And then next week you go and play Minnesota. They're kind of a middle of the pack team. You can kind of see them being a team that can win 9 or 10 games. I don't know about 10 games, but maybe 9 or 8 games. You can also see them going like 6-6. So I still think, because it's at home, I still give Ohio State the benefit of the doubt there. They go and only have 1 loss on the year after the Minnesota game. Then you play Illinois. Yet again, it's on the road. It's a rivalry game. Technically, it's a rivalry trophy, the Battle of the Yellow Buck. This is the first time this game's been played since maybe 2015, maybe. So a very long time. I think it's been close to 10 years. But yeah, I know a lot of people online are either really high in Illinois and are calling them potential playoff contenders, or they're really low on Illinois and they're not even predicting them to make a bowl game. There's really no in between there. I believe that something's in the middle. I know Illinois returns a ton of production from last year, but a lot of that production is not really good. Like, they didn't really have a great year last year. They had an okay year for Illinois, but this should be, everyone's thinking like Illinois was a borderline playoff team last year. They weren't. They were a borderline top 25 team last year. So I still think Ohio State, I know everyone's saying that Ohio State loses on Illinois and this is a trap game and you're overlooking Illinois. I think the actual trap game comes in the next week. We'll talk about that in a second. I think you get the win in Illinois. You get the Yellow Buck back, or I shouldn't say, you keep the Yellow Buck. Yeah, and we'll see. And Ohio State still has the only loss. Now, this is where the real trap game is. On the road in Wisconsin. Luke Fickell, I know, has had a really, really rough time at Wisconsin. He's had ups and he's had a little bit of ups and he's got a lot of downs. I believe he's only got like maybe 1 win against Minnesota, if that, honestly. I don't really follow the Wisconsin a lot. I remember them being really, really good in the mid 2010 or the late 2010s because they made the Big Ten championship a lot against Ohio State. But yeah, it wasn't really a lot. I think this is the true trap game. I still think Ohio State gets the win, and I honestly think that Luke Fickell is going to be fired at the end of this year. And he probably takes an offensive coordinator job at like a lower classification school and works his way back up. I know he's saying that he wants to be the head coach at Ohio State. I don't know. I don't think he's good enough for that. Maybe a coordinator. He could become an offensive coordinator for Ohio State, or defensive coordinator even, if one of the coordinators leaves. If Brian Hartline has a really, really good year and he accepts a head coaching job somewhere, or if Matt Patricia leaves for the NFL, like I think he's probably going to at the end of this year if he's good. But we'll see. Then you have your bye week, and yet again, I love the placement of this bye week. I know Penn State also has a bye week right at the end on the 25th. They have their off week. I love the placement of this bye week. I think if Ohio State doesn't have this bye week, I don't think there's really any chance, even with it being at home, that they win this game. Penn State is just so loaded. They poached Jim Knowles from Ohio State. They kept everyone. Both their running backs are back. Not only are they back, they're both experienced. They're not transfer running backs like Ohio State had, where they had to basically incorporate Quinshon Judkins in. Penn State already has both their running backs, and they're both experienced in this group. So my heart says Ohio State, and my head says Penn State. That there's no way, even with the problems on the offensive line right now and the uncertain at the quarterback position, I think this is a game where Jeremiah Smith takes over, and I'm going with my heart, and I'm going to say Ohio State wins against Penn State in the blackout. I completely forgot about that this is going to be a blackout game. Maybe this is kind of like Fox is kind of saying, okay, you get one night game that you get to pick a year. We take Ohio State, Michigan. We take all the Big Ten rivalries and we put them at noon. But you get one night game a year if you're lucky that you get to pick. And I think this is the one night game, especially with Ohio State saying this is a blackout. I think this is going to be a night game. Penn State, of course, has the whiteout against Oregon. I think this is down that level. I think Ohio State wins in the blackout at home. Then you go on the road against Purdue. You probably win there. That's not going to be an issue. Purdue is just one of the worst teams in the entire Power 4. So, like, there's no argument there. Ohio State will go on the road and beat Purdue. Then you play UCLA, which is great. This is a great game for me. Nico is back there, or transferred in. No, he's not back. He transfers in from there. Of course, Ohio State played Nico in his last ever game at Tennessee and destroyed him and had him running for his life all game. Cracked not one, but two of his helmets in that game. Nico is just not, and no one really likes Nico anymore after the whole I want more money after not really having a great season last year. He's just not he's not an elite quarterback right now. So I think Ohio State handles business against UCLA. They probably win by 2 or 3 scores and, have that completely done. Then you go on the road, or you stay at home for senior day against Rutgers. You easily win that. I think maybe Rutgers gives you a little bit of scare in the first half, but this being at home, I think Ohio State handles business. And then you go on the road and play Michigan. Now, I know Ryan Day has had all these. You can look back at everything. Ohio State can't beat Michigan. Sharon Moore has Ryan Day's number. Blah, 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 blah. Everything. Flag plant. We own you. You suck. Mason Graham and his comments against Ohio State. The soft accusations. All of that. And then the whole, again, and even to go on more about that, Bryce Underwood telling LeBron James that Ohio State's not going to beat them ever again while he's in college. Okay, we'll see about that, but okay. I think that this is the year, especially with Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day has to get a win in the game on the road. I think if you can't win on the road again this year and you have to go back to Columbus next year, the tension's going to be right here again like it was in 22 and 24, and you're going to be right there, and all the Ohio State fans are going to be all anxious and in the crowd. You can feel it in the TV, the anxiety in the crowd. And Ryan Day honestly plays a lot better he's a lot better of a coach when he's an underdog. For example, the Georgia game, the Michigan game in 23. Of course, you lost both of those games. The Notre Dame game, when everyone was picking Notre Dame and Ohio State wins in the last second touchdown. All that kind of stuff. Ryan Day just plays better as an underdog, or he coaches better as an underdog, versus when he's a significant favorite like he was last year in the Michigan game and ends up losing. Like, Michigan fans can comment 13-10 all you want. I don't really care. What's that say right there? But anyways, I think Ryan Day and Ohio State win on the road against Michigan. Ryan Day, they pull it out somehow. Maybe it's like an overtime or something. I don't even know. But Ryan Day gets the win in Ann Arbor. He gets the monkey off of his back. And they probably go and go to the Big Ten championship game because they only have one loss. They are undefeated in Big Ten conference play. And according to me, my predictions here, they go in the Big Ten, probably lose in a rematch to Penn State. You're still in the playoff, and you're probably getting a home playoff game with only 2 losses on the year. And maybe even get a bye, depending on what else happens there. I think Penn State's only losses to Ohio State. I think Michigan probably loses to Oklahoma unless the quarterback situation in Oklahoma with the gambling thing, which is honestly kind of funny for me. The fact that both Michigan and Oklahoma have cheating scandals going on right now, and Sharon Moore also has that chance of being suspended. if the NCAA actually does anything with that, and then you have the Oklahoma quarterback being investigated right now for gambling stuff. So we'll see about that. I just think that's really funny. Right now, Michigan probably, my prediction is they probably lose in Oklahoma, and then they lose against Ohio State, so that still puts them at 2 losses. They're probably in the playoff too. But my prediction right now for Ohio State is 11-1, with only their only loss coming at home against Texas in week 1. I think this is a team that gets better as the weeks go along. You might have a few hiccups against Washington or against Illinois, or even against Penn State. Penn State might just be the better team and the best, one of the better teams we've ever seen, and I'm just not believing it until I see it, which is also a big thing. But yeah. Also, real quick before I go, and I know I've already done this, but I completely forgot about to address this when I did Penn State. The Penn State-Ohio State game is not a rivalry game. I don't care what anyone says. The Penn State-Ohio State game is the Georgia-Tennessee game of the Big Ten. Neither team likes each other. They're just not a rivalry game. And if Penn State fans are mad about that, what is your slogan as a team? It's unrivaled. That means you don't have a rival. That means you have a perennial beatdown every year at the hands of the Ohio State Buckeyes. James Franklin should have not won that game in 2016. I don't care what anyone says. It's a fluke. That team was just better than the Penn State team in 2016. Don't believe me. Believe the committee that put Ohio State in the playoff over Penn State. Like, sorry, and then we beat your best team that you've ever had in 2017, and Saquon Barkley, whatever, like, against, like, what do you want from us? Like, you're not our rival. We have one main rival, and you can add Illinois in there, I guess, now so that they're playing again. But if you want to do protected rivals, and you got 2 protective rivalries, it's Michigan and it's Illinois. That's it. And maybe if you want to throw in like a Michigan State or something in there too. But that is it. That's all you get. There's no Penn State and Ohio State rivalry game. As much as people want to push that narrative that is a rivalry game, no, it's just a game that everyone likes watching because it's normally a really exciting game to watch. Like, it's just a competitive game all the time. It's not a rivalry game. People need to understand the difference. It's the same thing with Georgia and Tennessee, which, fun fact, the last time Tennessee beat Georgia was 2016, and the last time Penn State beat Ohio State was 2016. But they're not rivals. Like, it's been almost a decade since both teams have beaten their rival. So, you got nothing else for me? Like, you can't convince me otherwise that Penn State and Ohio State are rivals. Ohio State has the one major rivalry. It's Michigan, and if you want to throw in Illinois in there because of the rivalry trophy, you can. I'm not going to argue with that. I don't care. It's not, like, Penn State and Ohio State is not a rivalry game, but I've ranted long enough. Oh, and Michigan fans, real quick for me. You want to kiss the ring too?